Sorry, we have to take you to jail. That's what's coming up on The Art of Bombing, episode 263.
My friend Dan, he's got a podcast, 'cause all comics need a podcast, and nobody had a podcast called The Art of Bombing. So Dan went out and bought a tape deck. Who knows why he bought a tape deck? Podcasts don't get played on tape decks, but Dan is from the 80s. So hey there, all you funny jerks, come talk to Dan about your work. Tell him all about your worst times. It's The Art of Bombing.
Welcome to the Art of Bombing podcast. It is me, the host, Dan Bublitz Jr., and with me, as always, is my co-host, cohort producer, Josh Shirley. I've lost the mister. You're just Josh Shirley now.
Oh,
You're no longer dainty.
Well, guys, yeah, I'm not titled. Just so you guys know, I have not been fired from the podcast.
You're still here. Not yet. You still
That's right.
haven't been fired.
You're hearing my voice. I'm still around.
You still have your job. It's great.
That's right.
Your job that pays $0.
And you know what, listeners, you would have heard about it before me because what we talked about. If you were a subscriber. Now we should probably clarify we are on a different platform. Tell them about it, Dan.
That's right. We are on a different platform now. You may notice some changes with the podcast. We just transferred to a new podcast hosting site. That means it was very short-lived. We were playing around with a subscription option through our previous podcast platform, which was Anchor, but we're no longer using Anchor. We're moving on to something else. Right now, we don't have anything set up for subscribers, so maybe down the road that'll come, but as of right now, didn't seem like there was much interest in that anyway. So we're going to try to focus on what people want, and that's more content. So we've transferred to a new site. One of the biggest changes you will see with our new host is there going to be more dynamic ads. So you're going to hear more ads throughout the podcast. And those ads, we don't necessarily have control over what ads get played, but it'll be based on wherever you're listening to the podcast. So depending on your region, that's what kind of ads you're going to get. And again, out of our control on what you get. But there will be some more ads throughout the episode. So just keep that in mind. And if you don't want to listen to the ads, you can always fast forward through them. Just remember that.
This ad tip was sponsored by
you can do what I do and fast forward through them.
Yes. Okay.
Sometimes I will say this, I am trying to keep them within some kind of restraint. I mean, there are a lot of podcasts that you listen to that have a ton of ads. I'm not trying to be that podcast. The ads that they recommend putting in, believe me, every 5 minutes there would be an ad if I went by the recommendations from the podcast host. So
that's right. Don't get worried, guys. It's not going to get in your way. Part of the new hosting platform. It also helps us pay for the podcast so we can keep the content coming. And back to me getting fired. If you want to find out early about that, I think they should buy us a coffee. So if you go to buymeacoffee.com/AOB pod, you would be entitled to finding out early if I've been fired by buying us a coffee.
That's right. You can go over there, buy us a coffee, throw a little money, a little appreciation tip in the coffee pot.
That's right.
See what I did there?
Right.
The coffee, not the tip, the coffee pot.
The coffee pot.
I'm so proud of myself for that one. I just got the funnies today. So good. All right.
Rascal.
And if you want to support the show, you can also, we have a new merch store for the podcast. So that's the other announcement. And that's in the show notes. You can find the link to both buymeacoffee.com and to the merch store. If you want to go get a t-shirt, maybe you want to get a mug, maybe a notebook. That's the thing that I want to highlight, because we're comedians. We all use joke books. Go get an Art of Bombing joke book. you can get that at the Art of Bombing store. So, I think that's, and of course, make sure you're following us wherever you listen to podcasts and share the podcast with your friends. Those are the main ways to help us keep the podcast going. So I think that's all we got for business to take care of. I would like to, before we bring this intro this episode, because we have a great episode, we have part 2 of going to jail in Wyoming. This week we've got PJ Johnson on the show, but you are a resident of Kansas City and you had a big week. Your team won well, you shouldn't say that it's your team, but because you live there, I'm saying it's your team.
That's right. It better be your team. Won the Super Bowl. That's right. Schools have been shut down. The entire town is like Dallas in a snowstorm. It is just completely shut down because there was a parade today full of drunk Chiefs players on floats. And we need to not go to work so we can allow that to happen on TV.
Okay. Well, I thought maybe part of that was you need not to go to work so you can day drink with them.
Yeah, well, about 800,000 people are with you, Dan, and they were there today. They were parking on my street and going while I had to be at work. So I would have loved to go to the parade. I am a Chiefs fan. I follow the Chiefs. I was watching the games. I watched the Super Bowl, all that stuff. Congratulations to Kansas City and the Chiefs. But I'll also say that I'm kind of annoyed by all the fact that I didn't get to go. How about that?
To the Super Bowl or to the parade? Or both? Right? I think it would be – I'm not really a football fan. I did watch the game. It's a pretty good game. Pretty close. Most of the game, it was pretty close. But I do think, even though I'm not really an avid sports fan, it would be a really great experience to be able to go to a Super Bowl live. That'd be
I feel like a lot of people are like that. There's a lot of people I know who do not watch sports or football but still care about the Super Bowl. They watch that and make an event out of it. It's pretty funny.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and I like some live sports stuff. I like going to live sports more than I like watching it on TV. That's kind of how for me. But Super Bowl, if anybody wants to sponsor the podcast, to send Josh and I to go to a Super Bowl versus comedy.
We'll make an episode or two out of that, guys.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
Yeah, we'll do it. Maybe we could get some interviews with some sports people and let them talk about how their bombing stories.
So this is what
maybe we could just interview the losing team, the coach from the losing team.
Let's be specific. So you need to be rich enough to either include both of us into your Super Bowl plans or not send yourself and send us instead.
Exactly.
So if you're out there, if you're listening, we got a whole year for the next one.
That's right, we do. All right. Well, I think that's been enough of our gibberish up front. We should get into this episode. I do, real quick, want to plug a couple quick things that I forgot to plug in the previous episodes. I've been on a couple different podcasts this last month that I forgot to mention. One, I was on a comedy podcast called Behind the Funny. We talked a lot about this podcast and bombing because they actually discovered the podcast and then wanted me to be a guest on it because they end their podcast. They interview comedians about comedy, and then one of the final questions that they ask is for them to tell them about a bombing story. So they love the concept of this podcast because that's what this whole podcast is about, the bombing stories and what you learn from it. And we started about the same time. That's one thing we noticed. So go check out Behind the Funny. And then I was also on the Live from Snow Jam episode of Dork Forest with Jackie Cation. Jackie was on the podcast several episodes ago. I think episode 250, 251, right in that ballpark.
Yeah. Give it a good listen.
Give it a listen. There was a lot of great stuff that she talked about on that. But if you want to go explore some other podcasts, go check those podcasts out where I'm a guest. So that's all I got. I think we're ready to get in this conversation with PJ. What about you? You think we're ready?
I'm ready. And it's episode 250 with Jackie Cation.
250. There you go. He's got it. He's got it. Good job. All right. And, before we bring this up, before we go into this, PJ John, if you're new to the podcast, you might want to spring back to episode 258.
That is 259.
Oh,
Ryan Bonnell.
man, it was so close. So close. Episode 259 with Ryan Bonnell. That is part 1. So maybe if you haven't listened to that one, you might want to go back and listen to his story, then come into this one. But all right, without further ado, here's our conversation with PJ Johnson. Enjoy.
It's the art of bombing.
So you were doing verboten comedy tonight.
Yeah.
Did you do any other shows this week? I know I've seen you've been hitting it pretty hard on the road here as of late.
Yeah. I've been grinding my ass off when it comes down to the road. I haven't done anything like this week. I just got done doing like a 9-day run, like throughout my birthday and everything this month. So I ended up just like coming back and then just like trying to get like other stuff together. And yeah, I think this is like the one show I'm doing right. Well, no, actually I did Christine Tomlinson's show. I featured.
Tavern?
Yeah, I did the Tavern
nice.
last week. So yeah, I did that one and then this one, and then I had out of town to do like 2 shows on New Year's Eve, which I don't really get nervous for shows, but like I've never done a New Year's Eve show.
Oh, you've never done a New Year's Eve show?
Yeah. So like the way I'm trying to anticipate it, because it's like a 7 and a 9. Like the 7 should be fine.
Yeah.
Right. But it's the 9 o'clock.
Oh
crowd
yeah,
that
by then
I'm
people are gonna be. Where are you performing?
Watertown, Wisconsin.
Watertown, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
I didn't even know there was a Watertown,
Look,
Wisconsin. Because there's a Watertown, South Dakota.
Yeah.
There's also a Watertown, Minnesota.
Mhm.
I didn't know that there was a Watertown. I think there's also a Watertown, Massachusetts as well. So
I'm telling you, after traveling around this country, you really see how like lazy this country is.
I
Like,
know
there's
they just
so-
like copy each other.
yeah, street names, city names, doesn't matter. Like
Every city name's just hack.
yeah, for real.
Just a
So,
bunch of hack.
but yeah, no, but yeah, staying busy and everything else and stuff. So yeah, last little show for the year in Colorado, and then yeah, we see what 2023 does for us.
Oh yeah, love that. Yeah, I'm not doing anything for New Year's. I didn't book myself. I'm just like I've been chilling because I hit the road really hard
Yeah.
the last couple years, and I was just like, it's not paying my bills very well, so
Yeah.
I'm taking a break. I'm gonna do some other stuff, and also because I moved, so I've been in Colorado for a year now.
Mm-hmm.
About a year. Well, no, it is a year. By the time this comes out, it will be a year that I've been in Colorado, and
Yeah.
I haven't really got like into the local scene at all as far as like doing a lot of stuff locally, because when I moved here, I had so much stuff booked out that I was just constantly on the road. So I didn't have really have a lot of time to do anything. So now I'm trying to immerse myself more in local stuff and kind of get involved within the scene and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that, to do some stuff here. And then I started co-producing with Jeff, which is great because now I can do stuff locally. I don't have to do so much traveling.
Right.
'Cause I don't know about you, but I was getting pretty burnt out on it.
It's kind of crazy with the. Honestly, I'm addicted to it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm addicted to it. Like it's like the way that I get to let my hair down when I'm on the road versus like when I'm here. It's just different. Like I don't like, I'm not worried about like where I'm fitting in and everything else. Like I just like gather like so much love on the road. Like it's hard to like when I come back. Like to be quite honest, like I can come back from the road and most times like I get depressed, I get a little like depressed and everything because like it feels like the fantasy is over for the time being. You just gotta like actually like deal with like real life and all that, and you can kind of like put that away when you like on the road and stuff. So like
Unfortunately, it doesn't go away though.
Yeah.
I mean, the real life stuff is still there.
Oh yeah.
We still have to deal with that stuff.
I was like, this didn't come in the comedy handbook of
Right.
going on the road. and
Wait,
shit.
I still have to pay bills?
Yeah.
What?
Oh yeah. It's
I'm not a gypsy. What are you saying to me?
But no, I mean, I'm addicted to the adventure of it and stuff. Like,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a good time. For me personally, I just got to the point where it's like, I want to make money doing it.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to lose money. So I'm just more selective on the gigs that I take. And I get to a point where I've been doing comedy for almost 12 years now.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's been over 12 years now. So I'm like, this is my liberty. The best thing I learned about comedy was the power of saying no.
Oh yeah,
being able to just be like, no, I'm not interested.
Yeah,
and I do turn gigs down quite a bit because, and like I said, I'm just not gonna. There's got to be something out of it if it's not the pay. So if there isn't like some kind of a stock of me doing a show for low money, I'm not going to do it because exposure is not paying any of our bills.
I once heard someone say at a venue, he was like, we were talking about like getting paid from exposure, and like the guy, and like I think the guy like worked there. He was just like, hey, look, people die from overexposure every day. And like ever since I heard that, I was just like, yeah, that's gonna stick with me.
Yes, that's exactly it. People die from exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you can't pay your bills and you're homeless and you're freezing outside.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's but yeah, no, as far as it goes and stuff, like I mean, especially in this point in my life, like I don't really have like a lot of responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't, relationship, don't have that, no pets or anything as far as family goes or anything. Like when it comes down to me, like being in Colorado or just in general, like it's just me. Like I don't have any blood.
That definitely helps.
Yeah.
That definitely helps.
So like for me, it's just like, okay, like I can navigate around this and stuff. Like,
do you live in Denver or do you?
Right now I'm right now Broomfield. Yeah, so
okay.
like Boulder County area and shit.
Okay.
But I don't know. But I contemplate honestly whether I even want to like stay here and everything. And not on some like, oh, I've done everything that I need to do here, because there's so much more that you can do in Colorado. But I just think that I'm at a point where, especially when it comes down to like, this is the scene I started in, and like. For a lot of people, when you see someone when they start out in your scene, you can only see them as the person that you started out as. Whereas like, and you don't really like give them credit or like try to let them grow or be like, oh, hey, all this time has passed, and guess what? Believe it or not, I've become a better comic than what like you saw me as and everything. And so I think on every like hero's journey, you gotta like, leave home and then
absolutely
just come and then do everything that you need to while you're gone, and then come back, and then you'll really get like the respect that you deserve and stuff.
And you see that a lot actually in a lot of different scenes too, not just here, but yeah, you see that a lot where you'll have comics, so you get to that certain level where it's like, well, there's nothing that you can't do anymore here because you kind of topped out, and people like you said, they're kind of they kind of see you at that level forever until you move, go do stuff, and then come back. And I see it like in all kinds of scenes where these comics will move away and then they'll end up moving back, but now they're more established and they have more respect within their scene. Which it's kind of a funny thing to think about, because you're right, like people should be able to see you grow even within your community, or within your scene, but they just, for whatever reason, they just don't want to. It's almost like they don't want to see it because they want to be like, oh, we're on the same level. We're on the same level.
And it's like, nah, that's not the case. It's not...
exactly. So people grow everybody grows at different speeds. Then
Yeah, I definitely believe that. Like I've leveled up since like when because I'm in my 5th year now. It'll be 5 years in May officially. So like, as far as like where I'm at compared to where I was like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, and whatnot, it's like incredible. It's like the fact that people trust me to go, hey, if you want to go out on stage and go do like an hour and a half, go have fun, and I can go and deliver. That's like, I never thought that I would actually like be at this point when I even like started comedy. Like this is all like brand new for me, So,
oh, absolutely. No, when you're thinking about moving on per se, trying to go to whatever level's next for you,
right?
Are you thinking maybe LA, New York, or just a different comedy scene in general?
Nah, I don't want my next move to be like a lateral or like a backwards move. So like for me, like I would love to either do like like New York or like Chicago or like LA or something like that, but I've yet to actually perform like proper out there. So my thing is that like next year I do want to go on some scouting trips to kind of like see what vibe I like more and everything, because I think I'm established enough as far as like my own material where I don't have that fear where it's just like, oh well, what if like my stuff doesn't work out here in LA? I've done so many spots across this country that like that whole fear of like what's gonna work where, like that's gone for me. So yeah, it's really just about me like actually doing like the proper homework and like getting out there and just seeing how I vibe with like each spot. Because like I've never been to New York. I have been to LA, not comedy related, and they move pretty slow out there in LA just as far as just the people go. Nothing comedy related. Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I just need to like really like scout my stuff and like, you know, like gather like some more stuff up here before I end up like, you know, jumping, because I don't want it to be where, oh, I went out there, oh, I crashed and burned for like 2 months and everything, and now I'm back here because the big city didn't want me. I've seen it happen before. Like, I don't want to be one of those cases. Yeah. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good perspective on it. That's one thing that's great about comedy is you can live anywhere and still do it. You know, like I lived in San Diego. That's where my informative years of comedy was in San Diego.
Okay.
And then I moved back to the Midwest because I knew in the Midwest I could get more stage time doing, you know, featuring and headlining shows and whatever. And now I think about it, I'm like, I don't think I'd ever want to go back to like LA or New York. I mean, unless I had another thing bringing me there, which would be like a writing job or something like that. But because that's nice with social media too, you have the reach from anywhere. Now you don't have to live in those places. And you know, I listen to a lot of other podcasts, and it's interesting because there's a lot of like actors and other comedians and things like that and since the pandemic moved to other places, and not just like some of the bigger hubs. Like a lot of comics, you know, migrated to Austin or whatever. But I'm talking like all over the country. Like I listen to Dan Cummings' podcast a lot, and you know he's based in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho now. That's where he lives. You know, just up in Idaho. You know, and Chad Daniels is another example of that. I could be wrong on this, but I don't know. I don't think he's lived in New York or LA. Maybe he has, but he lives in a small town in Minnesota, and he's been crushing it for years as a headliner. You know, so it's great because you can live pretty much anywhere and still do it.
Yeah, no, that's, and like the whole travel thing has always been in like, I think it's always been in my blood. Like whether whether it's like, I don't know if you look at it like astrologically speaking, you know, Sagittarius is, you know, we tend to like to travel and stuff. So, but to be honest, I really don't, at this point, I really don't want like a home anywhere, to be quite honest. I don't want a home.
I want to be homeless.
Yeah, no, I know it sounds crazy, but like, no, for real. Yeah. Like if I could just like live like hotel to hotel and like, you know, all across the country and everything else, like I would rather like do that than to have some like apartment or house that I need to like take care of and like worry about all this other. I'm like, no, let me go where I don't have to clean up after myself, and I just let, you know, room service, you know, take care of that and everything. Let me just go and like eat on the road and do all that. Like I don't know. Like I just feel like I don't.
Well, I hope you get to that level where if you're staying and living in hotels, you could live in hotels where there's actual room service.
Oh yeah.
As somebody that works the road a lot, I know those hotels aren't coming with room service. You're lucky if there's housekeeping.
Oh yeah. Oh, far and
some
few
of them hotels.
They have the sign up where they're just like, we will not come and clean up your stuff while you're here. All right, like there's only 2 people working tonight.
There's a laundry machine around the corner.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate it if you did it yourself.
Oh, doing laundry on the road. Oh yeah, I'm used to that. Like, hey, sometimes you do what you got to do on the road. Like,
oh, absolutely. I've definitely stayed in some shady places. More than questionable.
It was funny when I got to stay in my first room where they told me like, oh yeah, you can smoke inside. I'm like, what the fuck?
You're like, what?
I can smoke inside? I was like, all right, fine then. Thanks, Kansas. I appreciate it.
I always think it's funny when you stay at a hotel that's non-smoking.
Yeah.
But you go inside and you can clearly tell that
everyone,
like, it's just smells like smoke every room.
Oh yeah. You walk into some stuff, but I will admit there has been some times where like I've ended up in some hotels where I was like, yo, now I feel like a headliner in this. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, y'all got bottles of Fiji water that's just what? Get out of here! I'm like, I got a stove top in here. I'm like, I'm like, this is actually scented lotion. Oh, man, like, yeah, there's certain spots that I'm just like, oh yeah, I appreciate it, but other ones, oh yeah, I just sit there like, look, this is what we got to do. This is the road. It don't matter. It don't matter. All right, we not inviting no company over to this hotel room tonight. No, we're at the Econo Lodge.
We don't need them to know where I'm staying.
Where are you based at? Can you host? That's me. No. So yeah, it's fun, man.
Yeah, exactly. You're local, right? You have
yeah. Show me around town.
Mind if I just sleep on your couch? I'd rather not stay at my hotel tonight.
I was like, room service that doesn't exist. They're just gonna knock the door at 9:30 and just be like, it's I'm like, I could sleep till 11. Leave me. They always do that at the motels. Like it'll be 9:30 and they're just banging out the door, being like, what time are you checking out? Yo, I didn't get into this room until 3:00 this morning, and I got a hangover. Don't ask me. You're lucky I'm not asking to leave at noon. Stop playing with me.
Yeah, yeah, right. Be thankful I didn't ask for late check.
Yeah, exactly. Leave me alone. I'll get to this room when I'm done with it. All right. I got some stuff
I know. In my perfect world, I want to get a camper van. That's what I would rather do. Yeah, because then I can just always have a place. And then I can take my dogs with me more often. That's what I'd like to do. I'd like to be able to have my dogs with me.
Now, this is fair, but my thing is, though, I don't want to have to clean up after my own shit. I don't want to have to empty no damn sewage tank. And I'm good. I'm too pretty for that. I can't do that. I can't. I can't. Nah. Mm-mm.
I don't know. I don't know if you're a real headliner. If you can't handle the road, jeez, that sounds like you need to toughen up a little bit.
No, hey, I ain't too proud to take a rest stop bathroom, but cleaning my own septic tank, nah.
I don't want a full on camper. I just mean a camper van, for sleeping, and can still cook and do some little things like that.
But you would shit somewhere else.
Well, yeah, you just hit rest stops and stuff.
Okay, all right,
and because most campgrounds now, where you would, there are some that are where you a lot of the overnight campgrounds have facilities on it. They even have showers and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I already will camp when I'm doing comedy, in the summertime, and I'll camp at some of these places or whatever, and they are, they have full facilities right there on the thing, so it's great. The difference is I sleep in my tent, and I'm getting too old for my tent.
I'm not doing that.
My body's not it's adjusting to getting old, and it doesn't like sleeping on the ground.
Look,
even with an air mattress.
One thing I've learned about the road is that especially as a single guy, you set yourself up in the best position to not necessarily need a hotel room. All right, you can finesse that. You're good. Booker man is just you're saving me money. I like you. I'll get you out here on the road more and shit. You got to get smart with your shit. Absolutely, absolutely.
That sounds like trouble.
Yeah.
Well, we got to get into this. This is about bombing.
Yeah.
I want to hear a time where you felt like you bombed or it was a really bad show and things didn't go the way they were supposed to.
Well, okay, so I got one that's kind of quick, and then I got another one that I feel is apropos because you've had a guest on here who told a story about them bombing, and I was there for it. Okay, and we both shared the experience. So,
it wasn't really a bomb so much. Are you talking about Ryan?
Oh yeah, I'm talking about Ryan. Oh yeah, I'm talking about the show that we did when we went to jail. Oh yeah.
It sounded like the show wasn't so much the problem; it was after.
So I mean, but that's the thing though, is that that's what also taught me you got to do the show, but you can't bomb after the show, and it's possible. I didn't think that was a real thing, but if they don't like you when off the stage, because you're on the road, you're politicking with everyone wants to talk to you, man. If you don't know how to human with them, or you can't pick up the vibe of where you're at, oh yeah, they'll look for a reason to throw your ass in jail. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But no, I remember one of the earlier times I got asked to do a show in Salida, Colorado, or something. Salinas, I don't know. But I remember doing a show there, and they had a birthday party that was there, and it was this, and it was the middle of the pandemic. I walk in, there's nothing but Trump hats everywhere, and I'm just yo, do they know there's 3 black people on this show? Okay, whatever.
Who booked this?
And so it was a loud room. So what I try to do is I try to command the attention of the room. So if I can be the loudest person in the room, or I can be the biggest center of attention, I can possibly corral the crowd. So I remember one time I did a mic in Denver. I did not Scruffy Murphys. I did Irish Rover. It was wild. It was hectic. And I remember getting on a chair and like standing up there on the chair and doing my set, and I like controlled the whole room. Like it was crazy. Well, I thought I would do this trick here. Well, this is when I learned, like, when you're bombing and you done something where you done like got on top of a chair and everything, you can't get off the chair. So I was stuck on a chair in the middle of this like Trump birthday party, like just bombing, just figuring out like how do I get off from here. It was terrible. Like that was one of the shows where I was just like, yo, I don't even feel like I should get paid for doing this, but I mean that's
when you know you're really bombing.
Yeah,
no, you feel like you feel funny about asking for that check.
Oh yeah, you're just like, or like the shows where, oh my god, like some shows where you're just like, you know what, I'm not even gonna try to sell my merch. I'm gonna just walk away.
I've definitely had shows like that where I'm like, you know what, I'm not even gonna bother doing the pitch either. Just gonna move on.
Just save face. Yeah. But yeah, no, the other show that involved Ryan and stuff, like that was like my first time doing like a road gig, like outside of like doing festivals. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it was me, him, and it was Mandy K. We were going to Gillette, Wyoming, and everything. We get there, and like Ryan was already on some other stuff. Like I remember stopping at a gas station, and he goes to put his mask on, and I'm like, you better take that damn mask off. Like this is not the town to, we go do the show and everything and stuff, and like and I thought it went great. I that was my first time ever selling t-shirts. First time I sold like about 12, 14 shirts and everything. We're smoking and everything like after the show.
So what you're saying is you made bail money.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Well, that's what I'm hearing. You made money for bail.
Look, and I'm from Detroit, all right? If you would have told me my first time ever going to jail was going to be in Gillette, Wyoming, I'm like, life doesn't make any sense. How did I not go to jail first in Detroit? Whatever. So yeah, no, so somebody called the cops on us, and so we're leaving. And the cops were telling us the whole time, we're hammered. I throw up outside, like roll the window down, throw up. We stop at some gas station because, Brian's hungry, wants some damn like gas station cheeseburgers or something. And then we pull up, and I'm like rolling up, and the cops like turn their lights on and everything. I'm like, okay. So yeah, we got a call about some weed and everything. They get us out the car. We're chit-chatting with them. We being all casual and everything. And then they get to a bag. Like, whose bag is this? I'm like, it's mine. And so then I go to jail for that. Well, funny enough, he tells us, he's like, look, we have to take you to jail. I was like, what do you mean we have? Don't try to make yourself look like, hey, I'm not the bad guy in this. We're just following the law. No.
We're just doing our job.
Yeah, don't try to sugarcoat it. So I end up getting booked for that, and then like Ryan, he had like a quarter piece of a joint on him that he refused to like throw away, and I thought it was stupid because I'm like, yo, first off, we are only here for the night. We got more than enough weed. There's no reason for you to be pocketing quarter pieces of joints, okay? So yeah, we end up in jail and everything, and that was it wasn't like bombing the show, but it felt like bombing life in that moment, like I ain't never had to I hate to be crude. I ain't never had to show my agape asshole to a grown man with a gun ever in my life until I got to jail. There was a lot of things I tried to blot out from that.
I don't blame you.
It was bad. We didn't have no gin pop or nothing like that. But I got in there and I was a comedian. I stayed a comedian. So they're fingerprinting me and they're like, you got some really long fingers. So I'm just like, yeah, ladies love it. He was like, what the fuck? I'm like, you took a comedian to jail. What do you expect? I'm trying to flirt with this little blue haired meth head that's in the cell across and stuff. Oh yeah. I was look, it's boring in there. I was trying to get me a girlfriend in Gillette. Look. So, she I see her in the cell.
Yeah, good idea to have contacts for bail.
Yeah, come on now. She got to know people. She's a local, I'm trying to.
this.
I'm trying to find love here, you know? So, you know, they got this little glass window or whatever. So, like, I see her through the window. She see me, you know, and then I, like, you know, I start waving. She waving. I fog up the glass a little bit. I write down my name. I put PJ in the little heart that I draw. So then, like, she drew a little heart as well. And she just wrote meth. And I was like, okay, well, this isn't going to work. And, like, you know, being in jail with Ryan is funny. It's like, I never thought I was going to spend jail with, like, with a comedian and everything. Like, that was crazy.
If I was going to have to spend any time in jail, I would hope it would be with a comedian.
Yeah. I'm like, someone's going to keep me
And believe me,
entertained.
I've had some close calls. I thought for sure I was going to jail more than once with a group of comedians.
Hey.
That's real scary.
Oh, yeah.
I think for me, though, the scariest was when we were entering a military base.
Oh, wow.
We got searched.
You got searched at the military base?
Yeah. And they and 3 of the 4 of us were like vets, but they could smell like, and they never found anything. But they ended up tearing the driver's car like completely apart. It was crazy.
Ooh.
And they had us all like outside the car waiting while they were searching, and to like gunpoint.
Yeah.
They had their M16s, you know, and we were like, I remember trying to say something to somebody. Yeah, just like casual, like it had nothing to do with that. I was just like, yeah, you know, whatever. And the guy, they're like, "We told you to be quiet." And I'm just like, "All right, please don't shoot me. I'm being quiet now. I get it."
You can't play with the military.
It was funny because the friend who was driving, he was a vet, you know, and he is because he's a vet, he's big into weapons and stuff. He had a shit ton of like weapons with him. So of course they found all that, and then they just confiscated it and put it in their armory and told him he could pick it up when we left or whatever. But it was pretty freaky. I was like, oh man, not only am I going to jail tonight, I'm going to military police jail, like whatever that is.
Hopefully better food than Gillette, Wyoming. I'll tell you that much. Oh God. I knew it was jail when they messed up Jell-O. I'm like, how do you mess up something that's 2 ingredients? It's the box and the like,
powder and water.
That's it. Like, but the funny thing, I think the funniest moment that happened in jail was like, you know, when like I go to bed one night. You know, before I go to bed, I tell Ryan because like, you know, he's freaking out. He ain't never been to jail before, and I'm like, I ain't never been to jail either, but I know I'm not about to freak out in here. I'm like, we're here for a misdemeanor charge. We just gotta make it through the weekend. So I tell him, I was just like, look, you know, when you wake up, there might be a brief second when you realize, or you're like not in jail in your head, and then you're going to realize you're in jail. I just need to be prepared for that and stuff. So we wake up, and he was like, cool, man. Like, I'm glad you said that, whatever. But then the next day goes by, and I wake up, and I notice I can't, like, move. Like, I'm like, why can't I move right now? And it took me like 3 seconds to realize, and I talk about this on stage because I'm like, I'm gonna walk out of jail with some material, but I didn't expect it to be this. It took me 3 seconds to realize what happened, and Ryan tucked me in while we're in jail. He tucked me in.
He's like, well, I got to do something to amuse myself, so.
I don't think you understand how upset I was with Ryan, all right? I'm like, Ryan, did you tuck me in? He's like, yeah, you were shivering in the middle of the night. You look cold, buddy. And I'm just like, bro, we're in jail, all right? This is the one place you don't try to be a homie and tuck me in. Like, first off, how did you tuck me in without waking me up? How did I not know what happened to me during the middle of the night? First off, the lights are on. All these cops can see us. Like, I'm not your prison bitch. Like,
it's like I got finesse.
Yeah.
His hands got finesse.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even see that coming.
I was like, dude, if I'm like at your crib and I like I'll fall asleep on the couch or something, like hanging out, and you throw a blanket over me, cool. I appreciate you looking out for me as a homie. But we're in
that extra effort to tuck
in jail, with the lights on, Dan. In jail, no. I lost all my street cred that I had built up while I was in jail in that one moment, and I wasn't even awake to even like say anything about it and stuff.
It was more stolen from you. Your
Oh,
street
yeah.
cred was stolen from
Oh
you.
yeah, oh yeah.
One tuck at a time.
That's it. Just like a little hot pocket or something. I'm like, bro, you can't do that to me. Don't tuck me in. That was the only thing he messed up. Like while we were in jail. I'm like, yeah, dude, don't ever do no shit like that. Like,
well, hopefully you guys don't end up in jail again.
oh yeah,
separately or together.
oh, I've asked him. I've done other shows in Gillette, and he's just like, I will never go back to there. And I'm like, bro, like, relax. Like, it's not that deep. I go there all the time.
He was pretty burned by it, I think, because of having to go back for court and then finding out they could have did it over Zoom. I think that was where he had to like take time off of work and do all that. And
I remember
he could have just like paid the fine and did everything without actually going.
Oh my God, when he told me that, because I got Zoom court,
And
I was just,
and I totally understand. I would be pretty PO'd about
oh
that.
yeah,
Too.
oh yeah, it was a quick 5-6 hour drive to Gillette.
Yeah, for court and pay some fines. Not fun. Now I'm curious, going back to the birthday show that you did, you know, where you like, do you do like political material, or like how did you feel like you lost that audience where, you know, because you said you got on the chair right away trying to, you know, command attention in the room and that kind of thing? What kind of happened that put you in the situation where like, well, this ain't going well, now I'm just kind of stuck here?
So like, you know, getting on the chair and everything else and coming in hot, like it was a great momentum starter. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I was doing fine at first, but then I tried to like, you know, there was a birthday party there. So like I tried to crowd work with the birthday party and they wasn't giving nothing. So like all that momentum that I even had was like lost. And then like that was the moment that I'm on the chair and I'm like, oh, this is what it's like. I'm like
now I'm stuck.
I'm like the taste of failure is slowly seeping into my lips. I don't like it. And then I try to go back to the other people, but they already felt some type of way, in my opinion, because they're like, well, you just try to give them some attention and you didn't make that work. So why should we even like care at this point? But my thing is that like, you know, I've never gotten off stage. Like I've never gotten off stage early. Like I've never had a moment where it's like, all right, you're booked to do 15 and then I only do 7 because I just got rattled so badly from being like, I ate the rest of that time on stage, but it just was not fun. Like that. So yeah, like the moment that my crowd work didn't work and everything, and then I realized that I was doing bad, that was when it was just like, oh, this isn't recoverable, and I have to do another like 10 minutes. So I don't really think it was about like the material. It's not me blaming the room. It's me blaming myself for, you know, at that time, like how I tried to address the room. It's just like, no, if they're not going to work with the people who's paying attention. Like, don't let that rattle you. So, yeah, that was a bad
almost
bomb.
Seems like it came to be like a perspective thing where half the audience seen you doing what you were doing and like you said, it wasn't working. And then like, well, you're not a professional, obviously. If you can't get them to be on board with you, then we're going to check out. This ain't a real comedy show or whatever, that kind of thing. Yeah. When you have a bad set, like what are you doing to analyze your sets to improve, you know, to learn from like mistakes and try to, you know, prevent things from that happening in the future?
My thing is like, you know, I try to record, you know, whether I record it like with the camera or whether I record my phone, like I always try to listen back to my stuff, always, no matter. And it took a while to be able to like listen back to. That's
one of the hardest things I think for every comedian. I record everything. Now I pretty much videotape everything. If I can videotape, I will videotape, and I record audio, but I never ever Look back hardly. No, not unless I'm trying to look for stuff for content to throw on social media. That's about the only time.
Yeah, I do that like because I feel like it's so important, because if you can't hear you learn so much more from your losses than you do your wins.
Oh, absolutely.
So once I try to get my mind around like thinking like that, that's when like I think that's what really helps me like after like doing bad and everything, you know. But I always try to make the rule of, it's just like, hey, don't Elon Striblin helped me out with this. He was just like, don't listen to your set literally right as soon as you're done with it. Like give yourself a day and like process your own thoughts and like what you like off top what you think you did wrong, and then like the next day like go and listen to it, and then you'll find like a couple more things, and like your head won't like you're not in the moment of like
that's a really good advice. Yeah.
So that helps out.
Let it process and kind of sink in before you actually listen back.
Yeah,
because then you can look at it from a more subjective point of view than if coming right in after the show.
Oh yeah, like sometimes you don't need to give yourself like a post game present, like the conference. Like you're good.
Just gotta let it sink, let it process.
Oh yeah.
Now, when you're on stage, you tell a joke and it doesn't land, or you feel like you're starting to bomb in that moment. What goes through your mind?
Fuck and you. No, I'm kidding. I do get a kick out of seeing comedians do that when
they just like blow up.
Yeah, they're like, that was funny. I know what I'm talking about. I think that's hilarious. No, I think you should just address the elephant in the room. Like, I don't like, because that's the thing is like, if you could go ahead and be like, all right, well, that didn't work, or like, oh, you're this type of, okay, like, you know, I have one joke where I started off being like, give black people the same respect that you give cats. Okay, so like, it's not necessarily there, that line isn't there to get everyone to bust out laughing, but if they're all sitting there like where it feels like to them like it didn't land, like I don't get what you're talking about, then I could just be like, all right, well, you guys are a dog town. And if I say something like that, it kind of, that's where it's just like, so that's kind of like a recovery in a way. So I think like having like little lines for that, like, and that comes with like knowing your material, and like once you've done it like enough, like you know how, like what directions people are going to respond in for about the most part, because there's always those anomalies where you're just like, all right, I don't know how to handle it. But yeah, I think when you're bombing, and I think when I'm bombing and stuff, or not necessarily bombing, when a joke like doesn't land, yeah, if I just let them know, like, all right, that was the case, or it's either that, or I will just act like it didn't, like I didn't get rattled from it. So if I can go up into the next joke and just not let them see it, so it just depends on like the situation, because some of them are good enough to where you can like laugh at yourself, and then other ones you're just like, all right, just like roll through it. Like I'll get them with the next one. You know, you can't necessarily like just give up on the crowd and just be like, oh, this one thing didn't land, you guys hate me. Like, no, keep going.
Yeah, that would be if one joke is all it took to get a crowd to hate you.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, although I've noticed that all you have to do is walk on stage and a crowd can hate you. I mean, they can make an opinion just based on whatever you're wearing or how you look or whatever, that immediate opinion.
Oh, yeah.
They're just like, well, I'm done.
I look at it like
before you even say a word.
Yeah. I look at it like dating and stuff. Like when you walk into like, all right, like if you walk into a room, like if I walk into a room and a woman sees me, like, well, like for both of us, like we will take anywhere between like 3 to 10 seconds to make our decision on whether like, you know what? I want to give you a chance. And then it's up to that point to either where you like shoot yourself in the foot or you like make your case better. And so audience members can do the same thing. Like you go, like I've had people be like, oh, I know that you look like you're funny. You know, you got the hair and like the face and you're frail and everything. And I'm just like, thank you. Like, but like there's sometimes where you walk in and they're like, all right, I'm already expecting something, which can be cool because it's like, all right, you kind of taking me seriously, but at the same time, it also puts you on a pedestal where it's just like,
it raises the expectations too. Yeah, it absolutely does. So I always try to be like low key when I get to a place, and I hear the opposite a lot. People will be like, "Oh, you're the comedian? You don't seem funny." And I'm just like, good. Because I'm not getting paid right now.
Oh, yeah.
Right now, I'm sitting at the bar having a drink before the show.
Dude, I'll be on the road and I'm checking in people for shows and stuff. And like, they'll just be like, oh, like, who are the comedians? And I just play along with them because I'm like, oh, you think I'm like the bouncer or security because I'm like black in Seymour, Indiana. Oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, I heard about the comedian. And like, if you play, like, in that case, I play along with them, they'll tell their feelings for real. They're just like, oh, well, I'm not going to sit up front because I hope he doesn't pick on me. Or like, or they'll say some stuff like, well, do you know if he's funny? I'm like, I think he's pretty good. And then like, they see me get on stage and like, oh, wait. It's like, yeah. So
I think that's a great, because that's it really it kind of like I feel like when you do that to people, they kind of get a kick out of that, where they're like, "Oh,
he got me."
Yeah, exactly. Because I've done that too before, where just like people come up and be like, "Oh," start talking to me about the show and ask, about the comics or whatever, and I'm just like, "Oh, I've heard they're really good." I just play along. Like, I heard they're really good. Yeah, it's gonna be a good show.
Oh yeah, it's like hyping
and then
yourself
after
up.
the show, they'll come up to me and be like, "That's pretty good. You got me."
No.
I had no idea you were the talent. Like, well, my face was on the poster, but whatever.
Right. I'm sorry you can't read, or
you didn't look at it. I get it.
Oh man,
visuals.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
they're
they
hard
matter.
for people. Now, going into the writing process for you, like, what's your evolution of a joke? How long do you? So when you think of an idea and you start writing it out, and you get it into your joke, final form, how long does that process kind of take for you? And when do you decide to either, okay, this isn't going to work, so I either have to scrap it or shelve it for now and move on?
So for me with that writing process, I honestly feel it out. And, some people may hear this and be like, he's lazy, he's not working hard enough. But like, I'm not the type of writer that sits there and like writes jokes. Like, I don't get an idea in my head and then next thing you know, I'm like writing it down, being like, all right, well, how can I tag it? How can I punch in everything else? I honestly kind of like let life like make material for me, because I learned early on that I'm not a person that's good with the script. Like, I can't go and like write out like how I want, like, how I want this to go and everything, because then it never allowed me to let like play the field, like it was just me. All right, like in football, for example, like if you can go in there and be like, all right, I got a good play, but if you go in there and you can't read the defense and know how to audible and adjust and everything, like you're gonna get sacked almost every time. Like, so that's kind of how my process goes. But as far as how long that it takes, I don't try to put a time on it, because I feel like there's no such thing as a finished perfect joke. Like, you can always make something better, you can always take away from it and everything. So I like letting that kind of be I like letting that be my standard and stuff. So yeah, I'll try stuff out, and like, if I'm comfortable with it, if I feel proud with it and stuff, then like I'm like, all right, I'll ride with it. And especially that's what kind of helps with touring too, because you come up with new stuff. Since you have a chance to go and do it in different places, it automatically makes you feel more secure faster with that joke versus you trying a new joke in the same city like 5-10 times, because you're like, all right, I got one audience, that one group and everything, but I just did this show in Florida, Arizona, South Carolina, and Michigan all in the same week, and they all loved it. Oh yeah, then we're rocking and rolling. Like,
no, when you're working the road like that and you're headlining or featuring or whatever, do you dedicate a certain amount of time into your set to try to do new material? Do you say, okay, I'm going to take 10 minutes and I'm going to do 10 minutes worth of new material or anything like that? So
I try to take some time out. I always try to take some time out to work the crowd a little bit. I try not to like base my stuff only on crowd work, but once again, that's just kind of playing the field, because like if I play with them with crowd work for a little bit and like just see how they respond, then I'm like, all right, I can like on the fly like adjust how my set's gonna go, because like if I need to run 10-15 minutes of crowd work, that's not a problem. But if I see that you guys aren't really feeling it like that, then I can just go into like my set material and everything. But as far as new jokes, I always try to set some time away to be like, all right, let me make sure like I tried this one out in this area and stuff. Like I've gotten jokes from like Seattle that like I end up like trying like the moment that I was out there, being like, yeah, sure. Like, let me make sure like I'm like hitting with the locals. If I can do a good local joke and everything, and then I can tell that joke in some other place and adjust to have them understand what I'm talking about. Because like, for example, you can't go to like South Carolina and talk about Loveland like that unless you have a short, concise way to describe it to them and then
absolutely.
The picture.
Yeah, it's like regional humor.
Exactly.
It's tough to do regional humor in different regions,
so
or local humor. And I've seen that a lot where you see a comedian, they'll get really good, but all their material is based on being local, and then they go on the road and then they just eat it because they don't have any other material.
Right.
And if you're going up to Minnesota and you're talking about what it's like to live in Fort Collins, You know, they're going to be like, what?
Yeah, they're going to be lost.
Especially when you use local references, you know, things that are local to that area.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to lose a crowd that way.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think also the fun thing too is just like I love letting life help make my material because then because then no one can tell me anything about it. I'm just like, no, this happened to me. Like I didn't find this from any other comedian. I didn't bite this or anything like that. Like this is something real that has happened to me, and I'm good enough to be able to hurry up and spin it in like a fun way and everything. No matter what, no matter if it's crude or not, or if it's clean or not. Like I found a way to make something like hilarious that's happened in my life, and no one will be able to ever take away that from me. So writing process, I let life take care of most of that for me. Yeah.
What about setting goals? Do you set goals for yourself? We talked a little bit earlier about that because you're thinking about, you know, what you want to do in the future as far as whether you want to move to a different area, so on and so forth. What kind of goals do you set for yourself, short term, long term, and like what do you try to and how do you try to accomplish them?
As far as goals go, I guess I'm always trying to like look big picture, but I'm also trying to make sure I'm not like putting the horse before the cart or however the expression goes, you know. So like for example, like
it's funny because you just totally said it wrong.
Yeah, I know.
And I do that all the time. You go to say an expression and you say it wrong, like the opposite.
That's all I was just like, I might mess this up. Let me throw this little.
As soon as you said a horse before the cart, I was like, that's not it.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm glad I'm not the only one that bombs on figures of speech.
Oh yeah, I be sucking with it sometimes, but it's just like a Papaism or something. I don't know. As far as like goals go and everything, like, you know, like it wasn't like a goal for me to become like a road headliner. Like that wasn't like a goal of mine. That's something that is just like, oh wow, this is like a different path and everything. But but now that I've actually like built up enough time and I feel like so secure with my stuff, you know, like now I want to work into like the idea of like getting into like certain like clubs and like I want to do like corporate stuff too. I want to do corporate stuff, and then like
you work clean.
I don't work clean a lot, but like I have material where it's like where it's very easily like can be adjusted, you know, like it's not, and sometimes I like some people like, you know, have this stereotype about like black comedians and stuff. It's just like, oh, it's gonna be N-word this and eating pussy that and all this other, and it's just like, no, it doesn't have to be that. Like like the Def Jam style sometimes will get
I
hit
can see
with.
where you know people might have that perspective. I was gonna say I know a lot of black comedians that work clean, so I was like but then also I'm in comedy, so I see a lot of comedy, so maybe I'm not the right demographic as far as what you're referring to.
It's just
people putting that perspective out there.
Yeah, so my thing is just like I don't as far as like clean goes and everything, like I have material that's like adjusted, like that can be adjusted for clean, like for like clean rooms and everything. But I definitely want to work. I definitely am going to like work better as far as like building more clean sets, like literally like this material is strictly for like clean sets. Because like I did my first corporate gig and I was like earlier this year and I was just like, oh, this is why you guys like these things. I'm like, oh, I need more of this. Because I was like y'all, because I've heard, I'm like, y'all make some real bread when it comes down to it. You know?
I've actually that's what I've been doing more of, working on. For 2023, more of my bookings are corporate.
Yeah.
I'm doing some corporate stuff, so.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm excited about it.
And the fact,
the amount of money that I can make for one gig, and I'm doing it all like within the region, so I don't have to stay in a hotel. And drive home. It's great.
And you've done dry bar, so that's automatically like, oh yeah, he can work clean, no problem.
Oh yeah. So. But I mean, even before dry bar, I've always pretty much been a clean comedian as far as like working more clean, and that's just because I had some great mentorship coming up. I worked with a production company in San Diego that primarily, you know, most of the shows they produced were at like coffee houses and restaurants. So they were very big on pushing people to work, you know, clean, but more, you know, they were like, be clever, you know, clever. And, you know, it's not so much, you know, you could use a lot of like using innuendos and things like that and things you could get away with on TV. So I was very fortunate in that. So early on in my career, I was already thinking about writing clean and just, you know, my material going that way. And I really one thing that a lot of comics, I think they overlook, really working clean is really the most of it is just not swearing.
Yeah.
You know, and not having super like over the top gross material, whether sexually graphic material or just super gross material. But for the most part, most people's material, you just stop swearing and you clean it up.
Yeah.
and then it's funny too, because if you stop swearing and then you're not getting the laughs out of that joke, it also tells you
that
you need to work on that joke, because it's not a good joke if the swear words is how you're getting your laughs.
Right.
You know? So it's a good way. It's a good way to try to figure out if the material's good.
Oh yeah,
it's like taking out the profanity.
Yeah, it's like, all right, like, can you make a good sundae? Like, all right, is this sundae good? Okay, throw some sprinkles on it. All right, now you can get away with some nuts. Okay, maybe throw some fixings on there. I will say though, I do think that like I get away with a lot of stuff like on stage, and I guess that's me really stepping into like my own energy and everything, as far as just like certain things. Like I watch some people on the same show like talk about certain subjects, and like the crowd will be like, I don't know why, but I feel uncomfortable about you doing it. And then like I go up there and stuff, they're like, oh, he's cute. Okay, I can see him too. So it's
all right. You heard it here. All you got to do is be cute on stage.
That's it.
You should just go be cute all the time. You can get away with anything.
Oh, I had a comedian tell me, he was like, you're so charming. Sometimes it's fucking disgusting. And I'm like, I have no control over that, right? I don't turn on. He's like, yeah, that's what all charming people say. I'm like, okay, whatever. But yeah, as far as circle back though, goals, yeah, I just, I definitely want to get more. I just want to get like into bigger like venues and stuff, because I'm like, all right, I got the time. But that, and really, I want to be more disciplined, because to be quite honest, I'm not working as hard as I know I could be. And I feel like if you don't feel like that, then like you're not really like going through. Because like when I first started, oh God, like it was just boom, boom, boom. Like I don't care what mic, like we're doing 10, 12 a week and everything. We're coming up with stuff. But like now, it's just like, it's like, all right, like I need to do more background stuff. Like I need to do more of like the social media and everything. And not even just that, like, eventually like I do got to take better care of myself, because it is kind of shitty being like, oh, I'm on the road and it's great, and I get home and I'm depressed sometimes, and it's just
mental health is very important, I think, especially in comedy, because I mean, there's so many comics already that battle with depression and mental health and things like that, and a lot of the stuff that we put ourselves through, especially on the road, definitely isn't helping.
No, not at all.
It acts more as an antagonizer than anything.
Oh yeah,
it seems like.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm like, all right, like this is my life right now. I'm just like, I've already given up, like, by choice and sometimes not by choice, like just a lot of things to get to where I'm at, So it's just like, at this point in my life, like I don't really got anything else like besides comedy. Like if there was one thing that I would say is like keeping me alive, I would say is definitely comedy. So like really going into like this next year, I'm just like, if I really believe that, then like I need to like step it up more and everything, because I'm cool right now, but I'm like, but I need to keep separating myself, and I just need to keep like going higher, because I'm like, I have the chops. I'm like, no one's gonna tell me that like I'm not built for this, because I'm like, I've proven this like from I've proven this like from so I'll say like shit, like I started really feeling like that after we first met, when I did the Snow Jam Comedy Festival and everything, and like the way that, because that was my first time like being out of the state performing, and I just like saw how people were reacting, and I was like, oh wait, like wait a minute, hold on, wait, I'm cooking with something here. So like honestly, ever since then, it's just been like, it's not that like nobody can tell me anything, because I'm always down to listen, but at the same time, it's just like I'm secure to know that like I'm gonna be in this game for a long time.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a difference of not being being secure and still being open to hear people give feedback. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like it's
absolutely.
Not, being secure doesn't mean you're totally deaf ears or whatever.
Right. Oh,
like,
yeah.
There's a big difference between being totally having deaf ears and having confidence.
Oh, yeah. If you're not learning and growing in this game and stuff, then, like, you're going to get caught in the wayside, like, real quick. Like, until you get that fan base that's going to rock with you, like, no matter what you do, until you get that, you better be ready to evolve. Like, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to get wrapped up. We talk about bombing, a bad gig. I always like to wrap up with a fun gig. So I like to hear one of your favorite gigs that you've done in your career so far.
Oh man, I'd say I say probably like one of my favorite gigs I've done was in Great Bend, Kansas. So
Nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, honestly, great. Yeah, I did a show in Kansas, and like, and what was crazy was about it was, I walk in there and I didn't know, I obviously don't know anyone and stuff, but like I get it, like I get in there. And like everything was just falling into place. Like every crowd interaction was working. Like the room was packed and everything. Like, and this was like the first show this was their very first comedy show. And if you've ever been for people who've ever been in that position where you're doing a venue's first comedy show, like you have to that's a lot because you're gonna be the deciding factor on whether or not they're gonna keep doing this, and the booker's gonna whoever's running the room's gonna keep making money or not. So I get in there and like everything was just going swimmingly. Like I'm bringing people up on stage, and like I brought this one lady up on stage, older lady, but everyone knew her and stuff. So I do like this, like I do a joke where I'm acting out with like the person saying like, hey, we're gonna like have sex and everything else, and this because it involves some like weird spray or whatnot. You don't gotta get into it, but it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And like the way that she responded, the way that she looked at everything, and then when I hit him, because I had like the punch in that joke, when I hit him with it, like I've never heard a room get so loud from like applause and cheer. Like it was if you've ever watched wrestling, you've seen like pops.
Oh yeah,
like like anytime Stone Cold's like glass like shatters, the whole place loses it. That was the only time. That was the one time that I've truly felt that, or I felt like The Rock in that moment, and it was so, and everyone's just coming up to me like, oh my God, that was so amazing. I sold like tons of t-shirts and everything. The venue was like, hey, we're going to give you an extra like $100 for the show, and we would love to have you back whenever. And like, that was just such like a great moment for me, because it was just like, yo, I've just did something that I've seen Adam Caitlin Holland do that down at the Paramount when he opened for Patton Oswalt. He told a joke. He told a Coors Light joke, and he lit the place up. And I had that feeling, and like after that, I was like, "Yo, this definitely is like my favorite set and I've had good, like other good sets, but like that one right there, like that stuck with me, which has been like, yo, you got something here. Like, go ahead, keep it going then." So yeah, that's
beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, the last question. We have the Art of Bombing Get Pumped playlist. It doesn't have to be a song that gets you pumped for comedy, just something that gets you pumped up for whatever it may be. What's a song that gets you pumped?
So from the Always Sunny in Philadelphia soundtrack, there's a song called On Your Bike.
On Your Bike.
So if you ever watched the show, like like some of the music, like dun, 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 that's a song that gets me up, because I don't care what I'm going through. Like that song like will put me in like a mood where I'm ready just to like have fun. And I put on that soundtrack when I start shows that I host like 10 minutes beforehand, because it's such good uplifting music, and like it's background music to where people's like, all right, it's not doing too much, but I feel like we're gonna have fun. So yeah, just a random song I would say is like On Your Bike for sure.
Oh, perfect. I got it right here. It'll get added to the playlist.
Dope.
All right, last thing. That was the last question, but last thing, where can people find you? Direct them to your social media.
Yeah, you can find me on any platform if you look up the hashtag I Believe in Papa Jr. I do have a website, papajrcomedy.com, where I post like my shows and everything else. It's still like under construction, but you can but go ahead, give it a visit. I can take all the hits that I get. You can find me at YouTube at Papa Jr. Joseph Papa Johnson. Facebook is PJ Johnson and everything. And outside of that, though, just keep up with me on social media. I mean, you never know when I'm gonna pull into your town. I mean, I go everywhere.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dan. This is fantastic.
It's the art of bombing.
And that was our conversation with PJ Johnson. What an adventure. Could you imagine going to jail, let alone getting to go to jail with another comedian?
Yeah, that's That's insane. It's so funny that both guys have like recap, and we got so much more information about it on PJ's. Like his side of the story has like so many more details.
Oh yeah.
From his perspective, that really rounds it out. And it's not that he like contradicts anything that we heard from Ryan. It's just like hearing the other side of it. It just blows a lot more detail into it. It was great. Yeah, we got the kind of a twofer, didn't we? We got like, his standing on a chair trying to win over an audience, going a little too hard story, and then the other half of the I went to jail in Wyoming.
Yeah, absolutely. Epic. Yeah, it was great. And there were so many great takeaways from that. We talk about clean comedy and what it is. And I think that's a good point to really to kind of recap and talk a little bit about, because defining clean comedy is so difficult. You hear that, especially from new comedians, when they find out you do, they're clean comedy, they're like, well, what is that? I don't know what that means. And, to me, and I'm not the know-all, be-all of comedy, I mean, because obviously there's different levels of clean comedy. There isn't just, there's TV clean, there's church clean, there's, PG clean. There's a variety of forms. But for me, mostly, I always define clean comedy as saying TV clean. If you could get away with saying some of the stuff on late-night television, it's probably considered clean. But for me, and I'm sure you'd agree with this too, a lot of, for me, is just not using profanity in real, like, graphic or sexual material or graphically gross material.
Right. Yeah. I would agree with you just in terms of the empirical definition of clean. What I'd recommend to comics is that they use a similar perspective to PJ, which is I have material that, I'm me, I'm myself, but if I need it to fall into that definition of clean, I can get it there. Like either because I have enough of it where I can do different material, or that same material can work without it. So that's the component of it that I would urge people to think about.
Absolutely. And then just to add on to that, when considering your material, if you have a material that uses crude subjects or profanity, and when you take that out of it, it isn't a strong joke. It's probably not a strong joke to begin with, and that joke needs work anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's not something necessarily that coordinates, or in your voice, you're not capable of telling the joke without that part of it making it funny. It could be that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know, you just reminded me of something. There's sometimes, because I do work primarily clean, but I don't, other people would label me as a clean comedian. I just consider myself a comedian. That's what I call myself, and I can work whatever. But I do find when I'm purposely trying to be dirty, it doesn't go as well. And I feel like it just doesn't, my vibe and my character, my persona, the energy I give off just doesn't equate to being dirty. Like when I try to be dirty, it comes off as almost false. Yeah.
That's a point that I was going to make as well is that, if I get on stage and then I start trying to do, because, when I was just starting out, I saw other comics doing it and having success with it. So I obviously tried it and it didn't work. And it didn't work for me because it's not authentic. People can, even if they haven't met you, they can tell when you're not you. And if I go out there and try to do a set like, Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, I'm reaching pretty far back.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, but
I was gonna say, if you go do a set like them, depending on your angle, it may not be taken very well based on other reasons.
Yeah. Anthony Jeselnik.
There you go. That's a better. So
he's very. He can be crude, but he's also extremely dark.
Yes.
I can't get away with that. Like that's his deal. And if he came out to try to do my jokes, they probably wouldn't work very well. So it's just kind of how how that goes. It's dirty, clean. It's all part of the voice. But I think any comedian who wants to make money doing comedy needs to be able to do clean. That's the difference.
Absolutely. I think having all those tools is necessary. That's the way I've always viewed it when I talk to other comics about it. I'm like, be able to work dirty because you might need to. Be able to work clean. Be able to have all the, just be able to be a good, solid, all-around comedian. Have all the, you got to have all the tools in the tool belt to get the job done. And another thing we talk about in this episode that I thought was really interesting as well is being able, this is one of my favorite things about comedy, especially now with social media and the internet and everything. You can live anywhere in the country and do comedy. You don't have to, like in the olden days, if you really wanted to make it big, you either had to live in LA or New York. And now you can it's harder to make a living because comedy still doesn't pay as much, unfortunately. But you can make a living and do comedy from anywhere, which I think is great.
PJ's showing that. I mean,
absolutely. He's all over the country.
Yeah, he claims to not really have a home, or that's what he wants, and I think that's essentially when you're doing comedy, you're touring. You're going to where people want to hear jokes. That is not typically in a New York comedy club. That's in Centralia, Kansas. That's who's paying you, and that's where you go. And you can get to there from anywhere. Absolutely.
And he does. Like you said, he tours all over. I was looking at his schedule, and he was like up in Washington. Then he was over in Michigan. It's like, doing stuff down in Colorado. It's crazy how all over the place he goes. So, but again, I do feel like, it helps, obviously, if you're in one of those bigger areas. Maybe your career gets boosted a little bit because there's an opportunity to be discovered. But I don't know. I like the idea that I can live where I love where I live. So for me, I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't think that I would ever want to live in New York or LA unless I got some big writing job or in a movie or something like that. There would have to be a real big factor to get me to leave this little space that I have now because I love it here.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. What about you? How do you feel? Like, you're in Kansas, you're in the middle of the country. Do you feel like, because you're also in pretty good location because you're in driving distance to a lot of places. That's true. Within 6 to 7 hours from, you got like Omaha, you're not that far from St. Louis. Obviously you're right inside in Kansas City. So
yeah, I it's totally the same case for me. Kansas City. I'm technically on the Missouri side, but in Kansas City, and there are places that pay for paid comics here. But I typically, when I'm on a paid gig, find myself not in a city people have heard of. So I drive to the building with the lights on. That's how I know where it is. So yeah, I think I agree with PJ as well.
Yeah. What about, I got a question for you, Josh. Let me ask you this. You're talking about going to these, usually when you're getting paid for comedy, you're going to a city that nobody knows about or a town that nobody knows about. How often do you say no to gigs like that? Yeah, because I think having the ability to say no sometimes is a pretty powerful tool.
That's right. Yeah. So my factors are whether it's, economically viable or not. So, hey, this is 6 hours from you. It's going to require a hotel stay and it pays $50. And unless there's some other factor is outside of that, like, okay, it can get you this. It's a festival. It doesn't pay at all, but it's in a great location, and it can advance your career. There's networking opportunities and so on. It's a comedy club that you've been meaning to get to, that you finally get into, and you can make some inroads and build some trust. Maybe that's a factor. Outside of that, I'm saying no to anything that doesn't, add up to more money.
Yeah, absolutely. That I'm kind of the same way. Like, if it's not going to at least pay it, and I'm in this belief that, and I've done the road quite a bit. Obviously I'm not the end all be all. I'm not an expert, but I've done the road enough, and I've seen some of the gigs that are out there. And, a lot of bookers will get a lot of praise and accolades because comics just want to, they just want these gigs, and they'll just go do these gigs, and they don't think about how much they're going to actually make when they do these gigs. They don't factor in, so the gig pays, a couple $100 but doesn't have lodging. I have to come up with my own hotel, and then I have to pay for the gas, got to pay for my food. Before you know it, you're in the red. You're not in the black. And then the only way to maybe get in the red or in the black is if you can maybe sell merch. And I'm in this belief that you shouldn't have to depend on merch to make money as a comedian. That should all be bonus money.
That's right.
Gig should pay for your time to perform, and you should already be in the black when you're done with that gig. And then if you sell merch, that's bonus money. Gotta have that bonus money. So yeah, for me, same thing. I look at the different kind of criteria as well on whether or not I'm going to make money on the gig or not. And if I'm not going to make money, I look again, like you said, at other opportunities. What are the other factors? Is there going to be another booker there? Because a lot of comedians, especially if you're doing shows within your local scene, you might get a gig, a headline spot that's only a half hour, for example, and only pays $30. Maybe, it's like, it's close to home, but also doesn't pay much. What are the other benefits there? Oh, somebody else that's on the show books this other show, so it's a potential for me to get seen. Okay, then maybe I can, do it for less money because there's an opportunity to make more money down the road. So things that I look at anyway.
Absolutely. Yeah. Those are all good factors.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, again, if you're listening to this episode and, you're listening to this and you're thinking about that, don't be afraid to say no or, try to ask for more money if you feel that you deserve it. The worst that's going to happen is if you ask for something more than what you're offered, they say no. And then you just say no to the gig. And when you can learn to say no to gigs, you're going to be surprised how great you feel about that.
That's right.
You don't have to do comedy. Not if you're trying to make a career or a business out of it. You need to, And with that, any business needs to profit in order to be successful. When businesses aren't profiting, what happens? They go bankrupt because they can't pay their bills. So got to think of it like that. All right. Well, I think this was a great recap of the episode. If you have more questions or comments about this episode, or maybe you want some further knowledge from Josh and I, you can always, talk about it in the Facebook group, the Bomb Squad Facebook group, or send us an email to the artofbombingpod@gmail.com. Send an email. Would love to hear from you. Next week, we got another fabulous guest. Emily Page joins the show from New Jersey, coming in from New Jersey. And we had a great conversation. Looking forward to sharing that with you. That's what's going to be coming up next week. Again, make sure you're following the podcast, share it wherever. And unless you have anything, I'm ready to get out of here. You ready to get out of here?
Let's go.
All right. We'll see you next week.
It's the art of bombing.